Today we are talking about deported Somali nationals who say they want to return to America. And the bigger question behind it, what really happens after deportation? Stay with me because this conversation is more complicated than most headlines suggesting. Let's watch these clips and then I'll come back with more comments.
All right, well, in case you haven't guessed it, Ilhan Omar was wrong again and President Trump was right. These people will not be missed. Omar better get used to seeing a lot more of this. After decades of abusing the system, committing fraud, and just taking advantage of our country, these people finally get to go home to their beautiful Somalia. You might be wondering how they're adjusting there. Well, you don't have to wonder anymore. Well, as they say, you don't know what you got till it's gone. I'm sure that a lot of people, once they get deported, then they will appreciate what they had here in the United States, but it will be too late, and they'll be left just like this guy, crying and begging to come home. But I want you guys to take a look at how bad it's actually gotten in Minnesota, specifically in the Minneapolis area. This is shocking, so please don't go anywhere. Now that just turns your stomach. You have US Bank Stadium full of Muslims doing prayer. Then you have the Mall of America full of Somali people who are committing welfare fraud and all sorts of schemes, robbing the taxpayers. But I want you to take a really close look at this next clip with the mayor of Minneapolis and the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz. Is this guy for real? He calls that evolving. It looks like you've taken 10 steps backwards. Minneapolis looks like it's a third world country. I mean, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. And then that mayor changing holidays, speaking fluent Somali, just pandering at the ultimate level. But you got to ask yourself why these people are doing it.
People who spent years calling America racist are now crying online because they're being sent back to the same country they swore was better than here. Y'all like the video right here, follow for more. And let's get into this one. You see the meltdown videos everywhere, tears, anger, demands, but none of them mention the fraud investigations, the expired visas, the money that moved through criminal networks, or the abuse of programs paid for by the taxpayers. The moment accountability shows up, they all act shocked. I look at these videos and all I see is the same contradiction. Somalia is beautiful when they want moral high ground, but Somalia becomes unsafe the moment removal papers arrive. They switch the story depending on what benefits them. The reactions are emotional because the system finally stopped bending. Deportations are happening because laws exist, because agencies uncovered fraud rings, because certain groups are draining millions from health, housing, and social programs that working Americans rely on. There's nothing complicated here. People act like the West owes everyone a comfortable life, like your job is to give everyone else more than what you could give your own family. And that is not how a country works. You cannot build a healthy society by subsidizing the failure of another one. And while all this is going on, the people who should be rebuilding Somalia, protecting Somalia, and modernizing Somalia are here demanding benefits. Their own country loses the adults who should be leading it. But Americans care about Americans who can't afford homes. They care about the people being pushed out of work by cheap labor. They care about a safe country. They do not care about entitlement meltdowns on TikTok. Accountability is not cruelty. Borders are not cruelty. Deportations are not cruelty. They're the basic function of a stable nation. Western countries are finally acting like it. Y'all like
there are no health care centers free for the people in Somalia. Poverty, malnutrition. Somalia has one of the highest maternity deaths in the world. Why are we not fighting for the woman dying in the childbirth? Why are we not thinking about our young men and women fleeing to other countries and dying in the ocean? Why are we not talking about injustice in Somalia? Because all of this, there is no funding. There is funding in talking about circumcision, and there is money also talking about the age issue because of NGOs. So let's be honest and be real about these issues.
The Somali man who was crying and begging for Trump to give him his passport back is now on live begging black Americans to help him get back to America after his criminal behavior got him deported. He was then trying to throw slick shots.
Trying to get my word through. I'm all the way in Texas. What I'm gonna do from Texas, bro? Hey, thank you. Hey, Reese's showing
My
love. Thank you, Reese.
God.
Appreciate that.
That's why a lot of us need to start going to school, man. We understand one thing. The Embassy of America is based also in America as well. It's the
Yeah.
headquarters.
Okay.
So like, you can go down there.
Yeah, you need to
I
get back to
mean,
headquarters,
I used to, man. That's how they fly. I guess y'all got a lot of cows and horses over there.
bro. What you mean, bro? I'm in the crib. Bro, say there's some cows and horses. I'm in the crib. No, hey, back. I'm not gonna lie. The chat is moving fast, and I'm having a conversation with bro. I'm sorry, chat. I gotta stay on point. See what I'm saying? You taking me away from my people. These people showing love, bro.
My fault, man. I ain't got no beef,
Come on,
man. My
bro.
fault, man.
Hey, but I ain't
They
gonna lie.
say
You finna catch a
needies can't
cool.
be picky though.
You
That's what I'm
finna catch a
saying.
cool little
So
beat down on this battle though. A friendly beat down though. Friendly beat down, brother.
right now, shit. They sent me back to Somalia. You know where Somalia is at?
They sent you back to who?
Somalia. Somalia, the
You
Horn
got
of Africa.
deported? My
Man,
chat
shit,
saying you got
man.
deported, bro.
Recognize some pretty obvious alarm bells here. All across these programs, claims were skyrocketing, absolutely spiraling out of control over a short period of time. And the reality is that the Somali community, which is where these large-scale fraud rings have been concentrated within this population in the state, it is a sizable voting bloc. It is a voting bloc you have to win if you're going to win political office in Minneapolis. And so I think that was likely a incentive here that made some people not want to look too closely at what's been going on.
Yeah, they don't want to look too closely at it, as this guy lays out, because it's obvious that a lot of Democrats are probably being funded by the fraud, right? Because that is how Democrats operate. What they do is that they take taxpayer dollars, they funnel the taxpayer dollars into these liberal nonprofits, these entities that are designed to do good, right? To do humanitarian stuff, like, for example, help kids with autism or to take care of old people or whatever. But that's not what they actually do. They funnel that money into their own pockets. They don't actually solve the problem that they're supposed to solve. And then they give Democrats kickbacks in the form of campaign donations for funneling tax dollars to them. There's no doubt in my mind that that's probably what's happening in Minneapolis. It's probably what's happening in Minnesota. And that's why you have politicians like, for example, Tim Walz playing the race card when confronted on all of the fraud that seems to be very prevalent amongst the Somali community in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and roll this clip of Tim Walz responding to NBC News host Christian Welker, confront him on the scandals that are happening in his state that he's overseeing, and why is it that he's not doing anything about it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this.
From countries beyond Afghanistan, specifically targeting the Somali community in your home state. He also... Welcome back, and joining me now is Democratic Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota. Governor Walz, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good to be with you, Kristen. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. Thanks you so much for being here. I do want to start with the tragic shooting of the two National Guard service members. In the aftermath of the shooting, as you know, President Trump has responded by vowing to crack down on refugees, including from countries beyond Afghanistan, specifically targeting the Somali community in your home state. He also described you using a slur widely regarded as derogatory toward people with intellectual disabilities. I want to read for you what he said, Governor, and get your reaction on the other side. He said, hundreds of thousands of refugees from Somalia are completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota.
In recent years, deportations to Somalia have continued under U.S. immigration enforcement, and some of those deported left Somalia as children, others had lived in the United States for decades. Several deportees have publicly shared their struggle adjusting, citing security concerns, economic hardship, and cultural displacement. But this isn't about one group, it raises a larger issue. What does home mean when your home has been split into two worlds?
This is the failed generation of Somalia. the generation that has been leading Somali politics for the last 30 years. So what have we gotten from this? Let's look at the numbers. Around 70% of Somalis live in extreme poverty. Africa's average is roughly 40%. Over 4.6 million Somalis face acute food insecurity. Somalia is consistently in the top 5 worst hunger crises in the world. 1.8 million children are acutely malnourished. Over 400,000 are severely malnourished. Adult literacy in Somalia is about 41%, one of the lowest literacy rates in the world. Africa's average is close to 70%. The global average is 84%. Over 60% of Somali youth are unemployed. And nearly 70% of the population is under 25. Somalia's life expectancy is 57 years. The global average is 73 years. 1 in 10 children die before the age of 5. That's around 100 deaths per 1,000 births. Globally, that number is about 37. Somalia has more than 3 million internally displaced people. And every single week, hundreds of young Somalis die in the Mediterranean Sea, trying to escape this system for a better life. And yet, we welcome these leaders as heroes. We clap for them. We defend them, even though their results are the worst in the world. So in the end, we can only blame ourselves. Because for them, the system works.
Here's a man who was sent back to Somalia. Watch what he says here. Go ahead, Rob.
أنا محاول ملنا دبي أنت اللي وضو باسبوركي ولا قاطي رأيني ساوك جرا أنتو قفوا embassy لزال لكرو إلا كبغض لسؤال عند علي I don't want to be here no more. I'm so tired of being here. This place. This is where I'm living. So tired of it. It's just like I want to go back. I don't want to be here no more. I don't cut my hair. I don't shave. I don't do nothing.
You can pause it right there. Whoever picked that music, like that piano in the background, that was great.
It just gets bad here, man. I just don't want to be here no more. Just I pray to God just. I'm just tired of you guys talking about me and just always talking shit. You guys just don't even know how to just leave me alone. I'm just so tired.
Imagine growing up in Minnesota, going to school, speaking English daily, building your identity in the US, and suddenly being sent to a country you haven't lived since childhood. Different language dialects, different job market, different security conditions. For some deportees, the shock is real. And that emotional reaction, the tears, the regret, the pleas, isn't necessarily about politics. It's about adaptation. Let's zoom this out. Immigration enforcement exists in every sovereign nation. The US is no exemption, but critics argue that deporting long-term residents, especially those who arrived as minors, creates reintegration challenges that affects both countries. So supporters argue that immigration laws must be enforced consistently regardless of the time spent in a country. And this is where the debate intensifies. Should length of residency matter? Should childhood arrival change outcomes? What about criminal convictions? There are no easy answers, and that is why these topics remain politically and emotionally charged. Somalia today is not Somalia of the 1990s, but it faces serious economic and security challenges in certain regions. So returning deportees struggle with employment opportunities, housing stability, cultural reintegration. We have even language barriers, especially those that are raised in the US. For someone who built their life and their adult identity in America, returning can feel like starting from zero. That shock can hit hard. But here is the uncomfortable part. If someone built their life in America, legally or not, what responsibility does the system have for this person? And on the other hand, What responsibility does the individual have to follow the law that the country they live in? This isn't just a Somalia issue. This conversation applies to deportations worldwide. It forces us to ask, is deportation simply a legal procedure, or is it a humanitarian transition that requires more support? At the end of the day, this story highlights something deeper than immigration policy. It highlights identity, belonging, and the reality that once you spend decades in one country, being removed from it can feel like losing a part of yourself. So whether you believe deportation is necessary or believe reform is needed, one thing is certain: the human impact doesn't end at the airport. Well, I would like to hear your thoughts respectively on the comment section. So this question is for you. Do you think long-term residents should face different standards? Should rehabilitation or reintegration programs be expanded, or should immigration law remain strictly enforced regardless of circumstance? Let's have a real conversation in the comment section, and make sure to keep it respectful. And if you appreciate balanced, in-depth commentary without the shouting, subscribe for more and join our family. This is Faith the Arts. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.